Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Enhancing the Human Experience. This is episode 74. And if you follow me on Instagram at gmarkphillips, you saw my post about this, talking about this show, the topic of this show, which we're going to be talking about choosing and designing your avatar, the person you want to be, for the real game of life. This past week, I watched Ready Player One. I don't know if you've heard of this movie, but it's this guy invents this virtual game where people put on this headset and this suit that kind of converts all these experiences that they're having in the game so they can feel them, right? It's like a total immersion. It's like a game where you're totally immersed in it. And as often happens when I watch movies, you get these awesome insights, right? I mean, Hollywood knows what sells and what works. And so, I learn a lot of awesome stuff from movies. I don't know about you, but I pull a lot of awesome quotes from movies and lots of insights into the human experience. And that's just because, Hollywood's figured it out. Hollywood knows the formula. They basically use Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey to write all their scripts, right? We've got a hero. The hero has a problem. The hero meets a guide. The guide gives the hero something or helps him in some way. The hero completes the journey and happily ever after, right? It's all, that's one of the reasons why I think movies resonate so much with us, because in a short period of time, 2 hours, you get to follow the hero on the journey, to complete the journey, have some struggles, win the day, complete the whole cycle. And it makes us feel really good because that's kind of the journey that we're all on, isn't it? In this game of life that we're playing. But as I was watching this movie, one of the quotes that the main character said really stood out to me. And well, the whole movie in and of itself really resonated with me in the sense that what's happening is in the future. I think it was 2046. If you haven't seen the movie, people live a lot of their lives in this virtual reality that this guy created. It's like a real life virtual game. And for the most part, life kind of sucks in the real world. So people escape into this game. And they put on they put on these goggles. They put on this basically a total virtual reality suit. And they get into this game and they live their life. They live the life that they want to live. They have the experiences they want to have. They do all the things they want to do because they can't do them in the real world. And this is what I find really fascinating. The reality is, and the impetus for this show came when I kind of dawned on me, and this is nothing new, right? A lot of us are escaping real life into video games and especially virtual reality games, which I don't think have really saturated the market yet. And I mean, it's definitely coming because that technology is always pushing forward, in this total immersion, this experiential game that we can play with these virtual reality suits. It's totally coming. But it dawned on me that, real life in and of itself is like a game, isn't it? And it's an experience that we're creating with our beliefs and the way we project, the way we perceive the world, the way we project out into the world, and everything kind of reflects back into us. This is one of the main tenets of one of my guests from early on in the podcast, middle of the road podcast, but Mike O'Leary. He wrote a book called Why Evil, and one of his main ideas that he shared with us was what you project reflects. Another good friend of mine turned me onto this book and introduced me to Mike and set up that interview. But that's really huge, right? What you project reflects back at you. And so we are living in this kind of a game, aren't we? But when I was watching this movie, Ready Player One, and seeing all these people escape into the Oasis, which is this virtual reality that they've created. And this, the main player at one point in the game says, people come to the Oasis for all the things they can do, but they stay because of all the things they can be. Isn't that great? It really resonated with me that that's really what's going on in the game of life, isn't it? And there's really no need to escape it, because this is the ultimate virtual reality game. And the way we create ourselves and the way we design our lives, which unfortunately most of us, myself included, don't do that to the best. We aren't fully conscious when we're doing that. We haven't done that to the best degree. And that's just this awakening that's happening throughout our lives, right? It's this like blossoming of the lotus flower. And that's the game, isn't it? It's this constant awakening. And of course, that mirrors the broader human experience, or the collective human experience and collective consciousness, as every individual's consciousness is awakening and expanding and deepening their level of awareness. So are we as a collective race and a collective human beings deepening our level of understanding. This is why the environmental problems get better. This is why healthcare gets better, sciences get better. Life gets better on its own. It's designed that way. And sometimes I think that there's nothing we can do to hinder that process. It's going to happen in its own way. It's the grand design, which is really awesome, because if it was left to us human beings to work this out, we might get it wrong, only because sometimes we're dominated by mortal mind, right? By the intellect, and the intellect is prone to get stuff wrong. I don't have to tell you that. You probably realize that in your own experience. That's like thinking something happened, or thinking that something is a certain way, either in an interpersonal relationship or in the grand scheme of things in the world, and having it not be that way. This is the idea that Einstein talked about, approaching a problem with the same level of consciousness that you created the problem with. You're never going to be able to solve that problem. So that's when we approach things from an intellectual standpoint. But I thought it was so awesome in this movie that people are escaping into this oasis, like he said, to do all the things they want to do, and to be the person they want to be. And of course, if you listen to the podcast at all or check out some of my other works, I'm a huge proponent of the power of being. And I really view it as the foundation of life. This success equation is be, do, have. It's not do, be, have. It's be, do, have. If we don't have that state of being, that is the foundation of the experiences we want to have, and we show up in the world as that person, we won't be able to do the things necessary to cause the experiences and the circumstances we want to have. Probably one of the most recognized or famous quote about this is from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And I wrote about this in my book, Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life. It's one of, maybe 12 or 13 quotes sprinkled throughout that book. And he said, before you can do something, you've got to be something. And I think, for the most part, that human beings jump right to the action. Because we are action-oriented. We know that action is required in the physical world. And you know what? I totally agree with that. I really, really do. But think about this. And you've probably experienced this in your own life. I know that I have. If you don't take a few moments before you take action to cultivate the state of being, or maybe you've done this, maybe you cultivate your state of being every day and activate it and regenerate it and renew it, right? Renew your sense of self, renew the most famous renewing question I like to think about is, who do I want to be? And who do I have to be in order to do the things necessary to cause the experiences I want to have? Most people, unfortunately, I think they jump right to that action and they forget totally about this state of being, because let's face it, it just hasn't been talked about in our world. It's not as fun to talk about that, and quite honestly, it's actually more difficult to think about that, because some people are like, "What is being?" Well, I define being in the book, Just Be It, as your nature or essence. And you can go further. It's like what you are. And a lot of people say this: what you are comes to you, right? Ralph Waldo Emerson, Jim Rohn talked about it in the sense that success is what you attract by the person you become. So all these success gurus and success experts and spiritual teachers, metaphysical teachers, philosophers, they're all really talking about the same thing, in my opinion, and that is being. Whether you're in any of those genres, it all comes back to being. And that's the power that we have. That's the platform we launch our lives from. And that's why this quote really resonated with me, because we can be what we want to be in this world. We just have to make a conscious decision to do it. And we have to renew that consciousness every single day. Just like they're plugging into the video game and getting into character, we have to get into character every single day, because we're never going to be able to do something and have something if we're not in character. If we're totally out of character, if we've forgotten who we are, we haven't renewed that self-identity and that self-concept, we're not going to be able to take those actions and then have the results that we want. And so just like they do in the video game, get into character, we've got to get into character every single day. And that's why it's so important to write down your list of who you want to be and the qualities, characteristics, and attributes that you want to embody. And more importantly, probably most important of all, the way that you want to feel. This is the real crux of it. And as I study more about this concept of creating the consciousness of the experiences that I want to have and looking into this deeper and deeper, it really starts pointing all towards this, how do you want to feel? And this is the stuff that Danielle Laporte is talking about in her book, actually she has books and calendars and a workbook called The Desire Map, right? She asks this question, hey, instead of talking about the things and experiences you want to have, why don't you go beyond that to the feelings that you want to have? Because at the end of the day, we are experiential beings, we're emotional creatures, and we're always going after a feeling. We don't chase the money, we chase the feeling that money will give us, the freedom, the control, the security. We don't want a girlfriend or a boyfriend. We want to feel loved. We want to be happy. We want to feel like exhilaration, right? It's always that feeling that we're going after. And so one of the ideas that I want to share with you and offer you today is that when you're deciding, the experiences you want to have, the things you want to do, and the person you want to be, weave into that equation the way you want to feel. So if you start your day saying, okay, who do I have to be? Who do I want to be in order to have the experiences I want in life, whether it's relationships or finances or business or health and wellness? Who do you want to be? Who do you have to be? And of course, weave in what do you have to do. That's definitely a component, right? You're going to be wanting to pull in your inspired plan from your higher self, your inner being. You're going to want to get the clues from what you need to do in order to have those experiences, and those will come to you when you're really tapped in and really tuned into your intuition, right? This is one of the challenges for human beings, is to kind of get out of our own way, open up that channel and let those ideas come through. But the other component, and this is really huge from what I've been discovering more on a deeper level, is that how do you really want to feel? How do you really want to feel? That's kind of the mixture or the formula for getting what you want in life, right? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What's your inspired plan of action? What are you called to do? What wants to come through you, right? This is the whole thing of don't die with your music still inside you. What wants to come through? What wants to be expressed? And then how do you want to feel? Once you get all those things working in conjunction with one another, that's when life gets really, really awesome. But my main point is, we don't have to go into this virtual reality game, because life, the human experience, is the ultimate virtual reality game. I mean, we're in an experiential suit, so to speak, right? We can touch and feel and smell and see stuff. And once we bring online our consciousness, which is like the program or I shouldn't say the consciousness brings us the ability to create a self-concept, create a self-identity that we want to show up in the world, right? Because we really can change that at any point in time. It can become somewhat of a struggle when the groove is deeply cut into our behavioral patterns and our consciousness of, well, I'm this way or I'm that way. That's a trap. It's a real, real trap, because if we continue to be the same person we've always been, guess what? We're going to do the same things we've always done, and we're going to get the same results we've always got. Everyone knows the saying or the quote, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. But since I'm all about being, and since we talk about being a lot on the podcast, let's go take it a step further. Let's dig in deeper, because as we've talked about, doing and taking action isn't the foundation. It isn't the end. Being is the foundation. Being is the start. I shouldn't say end. It's actually the start. So take it a step further and say, hey, instead of saying, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. Let's say if you be what you've always been, you're going to get what you've always got. So always look at that state of being. And, here he says it right in the quote, people that come to the oasis for all the things they can do, but they stay because of all the things they can be. I just thought it was really awesome. I'll actually put that quote in the show notes. Every week I have a quote of the week I pull from the podcast. If it's a guest that I have, I pull one of their quotes, or I find a quote that is in alignment with the theme or topic of the show, and I put it on my website, gmarkphillips.com, so I'll put that there. But I just thought it was really awesome, right? Because at the end of the day, we do want the feeling that being that way gives us, right? Being and feeling are very synonymous, right? It's the essence of nature. I also talked about this in my book, the notion that being is an ongoing process. It's an ing. And as we know, anything about an ing is a continual process. It's in activity. It's in motion. And this is what makes human beings special and different and unique, is that we can change who we are, what we are. We can change what we're being. And it can happen in an instant. It can happen in the blink of an eye. And this is what I mean by don't let your past dictate your future, and don't let the way you were in the past or the way you have been carry on to the future, because until we change that, until we change the way we are and our nature and essence and the self-concept that we have of ourselves, nothing's going to change for us. Because remember, that's the platform, that's the driving mechanism that is going to create all of our experiences. And in fact, it has created our experiences. If we don't get a new sense of self and a new self-concept, we won't have access to new ways of acting, right? Because we're going to go back to that same patterns of behavior. It's just the way that it is. We don't change who we are. If we don't change who we are first, we're never going to be able to change what we do. So my challenge to you and my invitation is that think of your life as a video game, as this virtual reality game. And if you haven't seen this movie, Ready Player One, it's a good movie, and it has good life lessons that are applicable to help you live and consciously create the life that you want. Not just the life that you've had, an extension or an continuation of that life, but actually making a conscious choice of what life do I want? What experiences do I want to have? And then once you get that down, and especially how you want to feel, then you can build your identity and your self-concept of the person you need to be to create that and to support those experiences. And of course, beliefs are going to play into that as well. But that mixture then will bring about those experiences. This notion of being, I think, is just really, really powerful for the human experience. And I wanted to share that with you on the podcast today because it really resonates with me. And of course, ties in with all of the work that is kind of my foundation, the Magic of Being book series, the 2-part series for children, where I share this message from, essentially it's the same message from Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life, which is your state of being is supreme and it's the foundation of everything you have. But I conveyed it in a way that I want it to be entertaining for children, and it's a rhyming story so they can easily remember it. And I want it to be something that the children can read and carry with them for their lives. It's all about that self-image. It's all about being that person who can do the things necessary to get what they want in life, to achieve their goals and have that success. So it's a 2-part book series. It's rhyming. But let's talk about Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life. For a moment, I'll tell you a little bit more about what you get when you purchase that book. It's available either in Kindle format or in PDF. And the book is really just the beginning. It's just the start, because inside of that book, there's a special link that will give you access to a bunch of free downloads, including, I think there's 3 videos. One video where I talk about the concept more in depth, this concept of being. And the second video there is one of my favorite tools. Basically, it's all a bunch of tools, transformational tools that I've designed, weaved in this process, weaved in all of the understanding of being, and took all the information and designed a transformational tool that you can use very, very easily every day, put it into your personal development rituals or binder. But basically, this second video is all about the Being Board. Now, the Being Board is my favorite tool of all in the Just Be It book. And what that is basically, you're familiar with a vision board where you put your experiences and things you want to have on that vision board. Well, a Being Board is the cause of you having all those experiences, right? We live in a world that is ruled, a universe, I should say, that is ruled by cause and effect. There's no randomness in this world. That's why all of the success gurus tell us, if you want to know how your life is working out, just look at your results. Are you getting the things that you want? That's how you know. Because that's the great thing about life, is there's no misunderstanding. If you don't have what you want in life, you're not doing something right. And you can go back and tweak it a little bit here, right? This is where we look, and it's all going to be in the being or the doing, right? Because everyone has access to the same information and knowledge and spiritual foundation. We come from the same place. We're going back to the same place. We all have access to the same information. It's just, what's your self-concept and what are you doing it? And maybe how are you doing it as well, right? But there's very few variables in the game of life. And as you know, they all originate from within yourself, right? What you are, what you do, and how you do it. But back to this notion of being and having, we live in the universe that is ruled by cause and effect. When you become the cause, when you be it, you will have the effect that you want. And if you don't have the effect, and I have to face this in my own life all the time too, because we're all on the journey, we're always moving into better experiences and continuously enhancing our experience, right? This is why nobody ever gets it done, because the game of life is infinite levels, right? Like this video game, you can reach the end of the video game in this particular scenario, this Ready Player One, you're right? They won the game. But in the game of life, there is no, quote, winning, because it just continues to go up level by level. And this notion of being, doing, and having, being the cause, having the experience, is just a continuous, infinite spiral up, right? And so no matter where we're at, we're always going to newer and newer levels. And that's what makes life really fun, is that we never get it done and we never reach this point where we can kind of go on autopilot. And so in the book, Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life, there's these modules and these exercises. And like I said, one of my favorite one is the Being Board. And it really helps you create a visual representation of who you need to be and who you want to be in order to create and have the experiences you want. I find it to be really fun. Well, because I like making vision boards anyways. If you like vision boards, dream boards, you're going to love this experience, and it's going to be somewhat different from anything you've ever done, because again, you're looking at being the cause. You're looking at yourself and designing yourself in a way that will bring about those experiences. So that's the other video. There is the 37-minute MP3. This is the full unabridged version of the book, Just Be It, where I read it for you. You don't even have to read the book. There's also a module where I'm going to give you the names and authors of the 7 most influential books that I've ever read on this subject about, the Life is Consciousness, Emmett Fox. We talk about Neville Goddard, hugely influential in a lot of the work that I do, and some other books that will help you and give you deeper understanding into this nature of being the cause, right? And this is the information. These are the core 8 books that I kind of devoured and got this information from in the first place. There's more than these, but these are the main 8 books that I really feel every human being should have in their library. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to go out on a limb here, that you might not have heard of most of these books. And that's kind of a little bit of a travesty, right? They're becoming more popular as time goes on. And as human beings like myself are awakening to the truth and finding these nuggets of truth that are really true and factual, and from my experience, from my humble experience in studying the human experience and studying personal transformation, this is where it's at least at this point in my life. This is where it's at. Like I said, I don't think we can ever say, hey, this is it, because like I said at the beginning of the podcast, this expansion of this evolution of consciousness, this deeper level of understanding is always blossoming. So I think it's a little bit of a trap to say, I've found the answer today, even though your consciousness is always expanding, right? Or collectively, our consciousness is expanding. But that's a little sample of what you're going to get when you buy Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life. Oh, and by the way, I'm also going to give you the digital versions, the PDF versions of The Magic of Being. That's the 2-part children's series. My goal in creating that package was to give you 10 times the value for the cost of the book. It's $9.99 for the Kindle version, or for the PDF version. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can find links all over my website, gmarkphillips.com. But basically, that was my goal, to give you 10 times the value. And I am working on another module, which really will talk more to the cause and effect notion that I touched on a little bit as I was talking about the modules, being the cause of having the experiences you want to have. That's on my list of things to add to that mixture and add to that download down the road. And of course, anything that I do add, if you've purchased the book, you'll have access to that through that link in the book. It actually takes you to a folder online that you can download any of these things. And so if I do, or when I create that module, which I'm really excited to create a module based on this cause and effect notion, because I've never explained it in quite that way before. And I'm also going to create a video because I think it's really, really important to look at it in that way, being the cause of having the experiences you want to have in life. It simplifies it in my mind. And I hadn't created or talked about that in the book when I wrote it or made those modules. So that's on my list of things to do, make a new module for that, just to, again, help you deepen your understanding of this process. Like I said, I feel this is where it's at, this notion of being so you can do the thing. Well, I should say be the thing so you can do the thing so you can have the thing. It's an equation like that. And I think it has to go in that process, because then you're going to do the right thing. If you be the right thing, you're going to do the right thing. You're going to have the thing that you want. Okay, so that's what you can get. That's a little bit of the bundle, talking about the bundle that comes in Just Be It, The Secret to Having What You Want in Life. All right. Well, that is the podcast. And like I said, go check out that movie, Ready Player One, and see what you think. Let me know, because I find it to be mirroring the human experience. And that the human experience is really the one we came to live, right? We came to get in here and tinker with our mind and design our life and make conscious choices. This is the conscious creation that we came to do. This is why I wear the Create Consciously band that I get from what was prior Enhancing Human Experience store. I'm rebranding that into a new platform, as I talked about on the prior podcast, and I'll be sharing that with you here shortly. You can still get to Enhancing Human Experience store by visiting ethxstore.com. That's where I sell all the shirts, hats, mugs that have messages that I share on the podcast. Messages from Neville Goddard, from Course in Miracles, all of these different, some of the yogis, Swami Vivekananda, all power is within you. Basically uplifting, inspiring, encouraging messages that we all need in order to show up strong in the world every day, to do our thing we came here to do, and actually make it happen. Design and build and live the life that you want. So you can find all those products there. Like I said, I am rebranding that and making it into a larger platform, and I'm really excited to share that with you in the coming podcasts. But go check out some of the items in that store if you're interested in that. All right, that's it. That's the show. As always, I really appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.